If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
We're all here. Yeah, we're all doing good, Richard. Thank you for joining us today. And Richard is going to share his pen collection. So I think we've all been waiting for it. So Richard, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend. So take it away.
Awesome.
Well, I've been collecting vintage fountain pens for about 10 or 12 years. I prefer to look for them out in the wild in antique shops or at an estate sale. I think I've only bought one or two pens on the market, so to speak. It's for me, it's the thrill of the hunt.
Have you gotten bitten when you bought something that was really unrepairable?
Early on, yes. I did not have a monocle, and now everywhere I go, I have one. I have this in my pocket so that I can check the time to make sure that there is iridium on both tines. Once in a while, I have found one that my glasses didn't quite see the little ball missing from the other tine. So now I'm a lot more careful. And I have a few examples. I mean, I don't know what questions y'all would like to ask. I have a Peter Pan pen right here. You see, I don't know how many people are familiar with the Salt Brothers from New York. This also has a number 2 nib. To compare it to a Waterman 0552, I can't even put both of them in the same frame, because the Peter Pan pen is almost just a hair over half the length of the Waterman.
Who made the Peter Pan pen?
Pardon?
Who's the maker of the Peter Pan pen?
Salt, SALTZ, I believe. Salt's Brothers in New York City.
Oh, okay, okay.
From the this pen is from the 20s to about the early 30s.
Oh, wow.
And here's more. I have this pen. I don't know who made it, but it's even smaller than the Peter Pan pen. And it's a ring top, and it does work. It probably has a 0 nib, because I have written with it. And I write with all of my vintage pens. Right now, I'm going through my collection, and I'm filling each one and writing to my pen pals. And when that pen is empty, I get another pen and continue writing. I don't know when this pen was made. I have not been able to find any information on it, except for it just about fits the hand of a 2-year-old, I think. And this one here, it has a white dot, but it's not a Schaefer pen. I'll show it to you here. Is that too much glare? It's
Oh, no,
it's
that's
very
nice.
Yeah, you're fine.
it's very nondescript, but it has what looks like a ballpoint tip, and when you push that,
Wow.
the nib comes out, and it's from the Eagle Pen Company. There is a video on YouTube of someone using one of these pens, so you can check the handwriting.
Hey,
And this is
Richard, tell us the whole thing about this pen. I'm interested. When that nib popped out, you got my attention.
this
That's a dip pen, right? That's not a fountain pen.
pardon?
Richard, is that a dip pen or a fountain pen?
It's a dip pen.
Yeah,
It-
that's
it-
my wheelhouse.
It was a traveling dip pen,
Thank you, Doc.
or that's what I call it. It's
No, that's
from
right.
the Eagle Pen Company. It's the Arrow, and it was patented in 1887. But what is really strange is I can hold it up and I press the plunger again, and it goes
It comes
back,
in.
and the cover, it actually pulls the cover in on top of it.
Richard, if you could, hold the pen horizontally, get more of it on the screen. Just back it up a little bit. That's nice. You're saying the markings on the actual body of the pen say Eagle on them and not just the nib?
No, no, the markings are on what I would call the section,
Okay.
the piece of metal that actually
Flange. It's called a
holds
flange.
the flange. There's no markings at all except a crude white dot, which I'm thinking is just a drop of paint.
Probably, yeah. The Eagle Pen
And
Company was actually a very famous maker of American dip pens. I've owned several boxes of their pens for calligraphy purposes, but they were very famous for their falcon nibs that were very large. They were meant for everyday business writing. That's beautiful. I've never seen one before.
That is beautiful.
And the little closer on here actually locks into ridges on this flange, and it keeps the pen from going back up in the barrel until you're ready to release it.
Rabbit, Brer Rabbit,
Not Brer Rabbit, no.
which can be getting.
There's, well,
That's really cool, Richard. That's a
I like
beautiful
that.
pen.
And
Richard, I got some questions, Richard, real quick. Let's get back to the dip pen, because I'm not familiar at all with that type of dip pen. The only ones I'm familiar with, you're dipping the ink and blah. So this one, when you fill it, okay, you have to click it, the nib comes out, and how do you fill it? Like you just dip it in ink, that's it?
you just dip it in ink
That's it, yeah.
the same way you would use these dip pens, which are mother of pearl and gold filled nib holders on these three.
Very nice.
So, does it hold a lot of ink?
No, you
No.
don't fill it. You just dip it and then write and dip it and write.
Right, because my dip pens, I have a glass dip pen that holds a lot of ink, believe it or not. I can do a lot of writing. That's why I'm saying that. And there's other glass pens I have, they don't hold a lot of ink. So that's my question. Does this hold enough ink to write a couple of 2 or 3 sentences?
Oh yeah, I can write.
With that pen? Well, if it's a wide nib in there, it might. It's the width of the nib that the surface area could help, yeah. But typically with the stuff I've ever done with dip pens, I've got a lot of experience with that. You write maybe a word with it, then it runs out of ink. And so it's
Wow.
challenged me, but that was actually pretty large, if I'm not mistaken. The Falcon pens that Eagle made were pretty large. They had a lot of surface area. Yeah.
Well, do they write pretty good?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So
It,
basically, okay. So run me
it
through. Run me
writes
through
as well.
I'm totally ignorant at this, so forgive me, please. So I've got the pen and I've got the bottle of ink, and I release the nib out, and I just put the nib in the ink, and that's all there is.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And then you're right.
Okay. So then, what is the next session when you clip it to pull the nib back up? Does that mean you're done?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of it. So, Doc, I need some education. Doc has all kinds of these pens, so he's an expert. So,
And this pen is a Schaefer Lifetime. And what is unusual about this pen is you see this design on here on the clip. I'm going to read you what is engraved on the cap. It says, Treaty of Friendship between I have to get some better eyes. Treaty of Friendship, Commerce, and Navigation between Siam and the United States of America, 1937. So this is a commemorative pen that Schaefer made for celebrating that treaty in 1937 between the United States and Siam.
Wow, that's amazing.
Historical.
Siam is,
can you show us the nib on these pens and the filling system?
the nib on this pen, it's just a regular Schaefer Lifetime, and it's a lever filler.
Okay, so it has a sack, and I'm
Right.
thinking it's a friction fit nib, right?
Yes.
And what size nib is on that?
6.
It has a number. It's a number 570240.
Okay. And what year did that come out?
Pardon?
What year did that come out?
1937, 38.
Now, were they a very popular pen? Were they a very dependable pen?
I have a bunch of these pens of the Schaefer Balance and the Schaefer with the Lifetime nibs and the Triumph nibs, and that they are all very good writers. This is just a one that was specially made for the treaty.
I have a question that I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, because this is the only way that I'm going to learn, because I don't have any experience in vintage. I have a few vintage, but I just don't have that much going on about vintage, and I've always been curious about vintage. In your opinion, do you think vintage is better than the new pens that are out? Do you think they write better?
Not necessarily. Our house is filled with antiques, and I've always been looking in antique shops for things. So I'm quite comfortable with the history of these pens, and wondering who was the person that used the pen originally. Some of them do have initials on them, on the jeweler's band, for example. And now, right now, in this cycle of writing to my pen pals, I happen to be using my Namiki Chinese Phoenix, which is not a vintage pen, but it writes extremely smooth. I love this pen to death as much as I love all my other babies.
What size nib does that carry?
It's a medium.
Okay, a medium, but number 5 maybe nib, or 6.
Well, it says M. It says an M on it. So
Yeah, that's a medium. Yeah. Doc, do you have any idea what size nib that would be? Would it be a 5 or 6?
Can I see it again? I would say you have to compare it to a modern. That looks to me like a 5 or a 6, but with the store, I have no idea. But that's actually is that in Namiki? You said, yeah, because it's got a mountain range on it, right?
This one is a modern pen, but it happens to be the one that I'm using right now in my cycle of writing to the pen pals. My next pen in the list is a vintage pen, and Liz said that I needed to show you people what I put my pens in. And
Richard,
so,
real quick, that Namiki, was that a Namiki Yukari Royale? It wasn't an Emperor, right?
all I know is that it's the Chinese Phoenix.
Oh, okay, all right. That's because the Emperor has a size 50 nib in it. You ever see an Emperor nib in real life? It's frighteningly big. Yeah, it's frighteningly big. And the Yukari Royale is, I think, a number 15 maybe. But yeah, that's a massive pen. I'll post some images of those nibs in the chat section.
Please. The other day, I was watching a pen. I believe, Doc, after you elaborated on that pen for a little bit, I'm going to say the word wrong, but Yurishi or Riki or whatever it was.
You're get me doing it now, Larry. Rushi.
All right. So I went back and I found what they call the masters, and they're very old gentlemen that do this, and they have some young gentlemen, and the work, the detail, the time that they do to create a work of art, it's unbelievable, because you can't make them in 2 or 3 days. It's a long process, and they go through different processes. So the painting is real delicate. You have to be right on target. There's no room for error. If there's an error, they said, then that whole pen is scratched. So everything goes to a different section, and everybody has to be on the same page. We're talking about a very delicate, beautiful work of art coming out. And then they have the ones that they lacquer, a beautiful, gorgeous lacquer. I think it was a red one, a green one, a black one, and another green, another color one, and how they lacquer this. But what was interesting, what I found out, and they have these 2 branches, sticks in the ground, and they have this black thing that goes across it, and then they twist it, and this black stuff comes out of it, and they put it in a bowl, and then they mix it with some other ingredient, and they mix it, and then they start putting this on the pen. So I don't know what that's about. So there's a lot of work.
It's a tree resin, Larry, and what you're talking about is they put it into a little bit of a cloth. They want to flip it. They start to twist the cloth. You start to see it's not only black, it's clear, it's red. There's multiple different colors, and some people actually have a pretty bad allergy to that stuff in that form.
So, you know, because before I knew all this, I would always say, that sure is a lot of money for this pen. I wouldn't pay for that. I mean, God, for that. But after you do your homework and you actually listen and investigate seriously, and you really get into it, you're going to understand why this pen costs so much. A lot of man hours, a lot of delicate work has been put in these pens, and they're worth every penny of it. And they also are creating these bowls, red and blue, and they lacquer, and it's just gorgeous work that these people do. So yeah, they're worth the money. Of course, I could never afford one, but I can always drool. Okay.
Well, one thing what Richard was mentioning is Richard and I have been pen pals for a while, and every time he writes a letter, he writes, you know, which ink he's using and his pen. So he was using pens I've never heard of, and I kept looking them up online going, wow, you know, it's an old pen, that's really cool. And I would ask him questions about it. And so as I think we've been pen pals for almost two years now. So that's why when he mentioned that I had suggested that he share this collection with everyone, I just thought it was a really awesome collection, and it would just be great for everyone, you know, to see and to share all the history of fountain pens.
I have a question for Richard and for Doc. I do take chances, and I step out of the box, and I do get what I believe is a vintage pen. It's a Russian vintage pen, and they use them at one time for school, and they're okay looking, but they don't make them anymore. And I'm asking myself, is it a vintage pen because it was way back, what, in the 20s? Does that make it vintage? I have the pen, and I'm going to show it one day. I'm not too overwhelmed about the pen. It doesn't have the aesthetics. It doesn't have the look. It doesn't have the feel. And it really doesn't write very well. So I guess the main reason I got it because it was a Russian pen. So anybody can elaborate and give me some input what I did wrong. All of it, Doc, I did it all wrong.
I'm not a vintage pen guy. I respect them. I have a great appreciation for them, but it's not, I mean, there's someone like David Isaacson from the Fountain Pen Group on Facebook. David, I think, is a certified expert in fountain. They actually, and Rich, maybe you know, but there's actually certain parameters where I once called a pen from the 1980s a vintage pen, and I got toasted for it. You know, so I don't know what, remember something, anything that was in the 70s or 60s, think about how long ago that was now. You know, in the 60s, you're talking about 60 years old. You know, 70s.
Yeah, that's my, I tried to cut my collection off at around 1950, 1960. I do have a handful or so of what I would call modern pens, and I've gotten them at estate sales, and the only reason I bought them is the people running the estate sale did not know the retail value of those pens. And I was able to get them for a fourth, a fifth of their actual value. So I immediately scooped them up. I mean, just like this Namiki Chinese Phoenix, I paid $25 for this pen. Now, if you look online and buy one, they are several $100s.
Yeah, I've owned them. Yeah.
I do try to cut mine off at around 1960 or earlier. Most of my collection is probably from 1915 to about 1945 or 50 at the latest.
So when you buy these pens, Richard, are they in working condition or do you have to restore them?
I have, well, 99% of the time, if they are if they are a lever filler, I have to change the sack because the sack is it's dried out. I mean, it's 50 or 60, 70 years old. It's rare that I have found one of that age that has had a good sack. Most of those I can replace the sack myself. The button fillers and the vacuumatics, I don't feel competent enough to repair them myself, so I send them to my pen repair guy that I've used for 5 or 6 years. He's always done good work for me, and so he gets all the business that I can't do myself.
Right. So then, do you figure it's worth it? You pay so many dollars for this vintage pen, and then you're going to have to send it out to get it fixed. So you're adding dollars together. Is it worth it to you to spend that money for the pen that you thought you were going to get maybe $80, $90, and it may turn into $200?
That is correct. Whenever I look for at any pen, I figure up in my head the cost of the sack, if I don't have it, and any other parts that need to be repaired, like maybe the tines are crooked or something minor. I just figure all those costs in, plus the cost of the pen as it is, and I weigh that against what I believe the approximate retail value might be to someone else, and if it's a good deal, then I will buy the pen. If I can't quite justify it because maybe it needs a new nib as well, say if it was a button filler and it needed a new gold nib, well, all 90% of my nibs are 14 karat gold. So that's another $50 or $60 just for a replacement nib. And then you've got the cost of repairing the innards, whether it was a button filler or like the vacuumatics. And then the cost of the pen itself, and those costs can go up high very quickly, and it would preclude me from buying the pen simply because I don't have the skills and the tools to repair certain pens like the Vacuumatics. And so I just send them to my pen guy, and I know what he's going to charge me, and that just gets added to the, you know, the cost of everything else.
Okay, can you move along and show us another of your pen?
Okay, this one I just briefly showed. This is a Waterman 0552. The clip is 18 karat gold filled, and the rest of the pen is gold filled. I don't know what the carat is on it. The nib is, of course, this nib is 14 karat, and it's the number 2 nib. It's about the best, or the, I guess, the average flex nib for most vintage pens is a number 2. At least that's what I find when I'm out looking for them. That seems to be the nib size that everyone is looking for, and especially on most of a lot of your Watermans have a number 2 gold nib. Another one I have, this is a Waterman number 12 with the 9 karat repoussé bands on it, and it's an eyedropper. This one is from about 1898 to around 1928. So are y'all familiar with an eyedropper?
Yeah.
And this also, I believe the way that this nib acts, comparing it to my other Waterman number 2 nibs, that it is also a number 2. The number is buried down in the nib. You know, you can't see it, but I'm assuming that it is also a number 2 nib.
Okay. And that's a medium nib?
Well, let me see. I'll do
Be right back.
a writing sample here.
Okay, now a question to that would be, is when you're making your letters or when you write, is there any flex to it? Is the nib
Yes.
a little bouncy to it? Or is it a stiff nib?
Well,
No,
that's really nice.
it's a flex nib.
Okay.
I wish I had another camera. I mean, the doctor here can show you all these. I mean, this is, I just made 2 quick letters here, and just to show Larry about this nib on this number 12.
Now, do you have a certain special vintage pen that you really enjoy using the most?
I can't pick among my children, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all my babies.
Well, tell them to cover their ears. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I do like my flex nibs a little bit more than my stiff nibs, but then the stiff nibs, especially on the Vacuumatics or the Schaefer pens, they write as smooth as glass. So they're all wonderful.
Okay. So look, okay, so you go out to antique stores. You're on a mission. You know what you're looking for, vintage pens. Are they hard to find? And when you find them, you see something you like. Are they priced real high? And do you have to do some negotiation to try to bring the price down? Because you may have to do some work on these pens.
I do ask if there is any wiggle room, and I did have a real good place in Florida at an antique shop that we would visit every time we drove further down into Florida, because I live in Georgia, by the way. And lately, there haven't been any pens. Used to, I would see 35, 40, 50 there. And at one point, I talked to one of the ladies working there, and she said, "Oh, a guy came in last week and bought, you know, a handful," and whomever it was knew what they were looking for, because all that was left were second tier and third tier manufacturers, which are still good pens, but I was looking for Waterman primarily, maybe a Schaefer or an early Parker, but mainly the Waterman pens. And so it's just a guessing game. I mean, it's nothing like walking into a pen store now, you know, and looking at pens and being able to pick one out, you know, and take it home. I mean, there have been months where I didn't find anything, and I would go out every weekend and search. You know, it's just part of the thrill of the hunt, you know.
It's definitely become a lot more challenging with the advent of the internet. There's a lot more educated sellers and buyers out there. At one time, you could find these incredible deals, but it's becoming very, very difficult, especially in the dip pen market. I mean, the most famous of the dip pens for shaded script writing, like copperplate and ornamental penmanship, is the Gillot Principality. And at one time, 144 in a box would sell for $1, $1.50 back in early 1900s. That same box in mint condition on eBay could bring anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. And so, you know, the ability to run it, and I used to have boxes of those pen points. The ability to find those things, it's just becoming, and I was responsible for some of the difficulty with that, because I came up with this image called the dream points. And after a while, I started seeing people use it on eBay to sell these things. And at one time I would pay maybe $2, $3 a pen point for them. Now you just can't touch them. and they don't last that long. You know, they just don't last that long. The other thing, I put some interesting stuff, I hope, in the chat section, some images in the PDF file. I've got one that is an interesting comparison of all the different nib sizes, from the enormous Emperor number 50 pen nib down to Cellar King of Pens. It's an interesting comparison. And also preparing dip pen nibs. Richard, when you showed that dip pen, the thing people don't realize about those pens, especially the nibs themselves, they have to be prepared correctly to receive ink. And I posted a PDF on how to do that, right? Because if you just take the nib, that's got a coating of usually varnish on it or lacquer to help the thing to stop it from oxidizing or rusting. And so that has to be taken off in order for the nib to really accept the ink. If it's not, you'll have trouble writing with that pen. That was a mystery to me in the beginning. So I have an article there on how you can do that. And it's just, because even with something like that, you don't want to have your finger oil on it or anything. It'll repel the ink. When you dip that into an ink well, that should come out fully coated under and over, on the top and up and underside of the nib. If it doesn't have that, you're going to run out of ink quickly. And so a lot of people don't realize how to prepare a nib. And the other thing that was mentioned before by Larry, how much ink could it hold? There were some pen points that actually had special custom reservoirs made for them. And so they would go underneath the pen, like almost like a coil, a spring coil. It would hold more ink. But for those of us who are dip pen enthusiasts, that's like cheating for us, you know. So, and then when you get into dip pens, things like ink viscosity become really important. You know, how corrosive is the ink? Like iron gall ink of the dip pen variety is very corrosive to steel nibs, very corrosive. And but anyway, I'll shut up at that point. But it's interesting stuff, and I still really appreciate you showing me that travel pen. That was really interesting.
So Mike, what was the very first vintage pen you bought, and how did you even get started to acquire your first vintage pen? Was it like, okay, I want an old pen, I'm going to go look for one? How did you come about doing this?
Oh, you mean Richard?
I mean, Richard, I'm sorry.
That's
Not
okay.
Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. Thank you, Liz.
Well, it's been so long ago. I always liked fountain pens because of the way the ink flow would flow on the paper. I really didn't like the big pens because it seemed to just skip, and the ink didn't look pretty and stable. So I picked up a pen at an antique shop. I don't even remember what it was, and I liked it, and I liked the way the ink flowed, and I was off to the races from that.
Okay.
I have a lot of ring top pens as well, which are, you might call them a vest pocket pen, because they are shorter in size, and they have a ring top on them, which it would, if a gentleman was carrying it, it would be attached to his watch chain, and it would sit in his pocket. If the lady had the ring top pen, it would be, they used to have a long necklace, and it would be attached to the chain on their necklace that they wore, so that the women could sit at their desks at home and take unscrew the pin from the cap and do their writing, and then, because the cap would stay on the necklace because it's a ring top, and then they could just recap it and take it out wherever.
Do you have one to show us, Richard?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening that way.
Okay, well, here is a ring top. This is a a wall gold seal.
Oh, okay, okay.
Wall is the same company that now cuts your hair,
Mhm.
by the way. Wall used to make fountain pens in the 20s and 30s, and they got out of the fountain pen business in the 40s and somehow switched over to making shavers and hair clippers and things like that. But this nib is a gold nib as well.
So the ring is on the cap of the pen.
Right, the ring right here is
Okay.
it's on the cap.
Oh, cool.
So this would be, on your necklace somewhere, or your watch chain. And this pen is from the 30s.
Very cool. I like that.
And Liz, you wanted me to show what I carry around these pens in.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
I don't know how well it will work here.
It's like a briefcase of pens.
I have two of these, and they hold 96 pens, and I've already gotten more than the 96. There's 4 sections in here.
How many sections?
And who
Sections.
makes that, Richard?
Just one second.
48 and 4 sections.
That's it. Okay.
Federalist Frank used to carry this size, but he doesn't anymore. It's GIROLOGIO or Geo. I can't pronounce it. He's a leather maker.
Oh, it's the same brand that that Frank had sold, and Goulet Pen sells. Gold Spot sells that brand as well.
Yeah, I have one like you have as well. I've got a whole bunch of them as well. Hey, real quick, we talked to Doc for a minute. How many pen cases do you have? 100, Doc?
A lot. Right now, I'm actually a big fan of Galen Leather from Turkey. They
Okay.
make some beautiful, beautiful pen cases. And also a guy from England, he goes by, I think, Michael 60. He made some custom pen case. He made one 3-pen case for my emperors. I had 3 emperors, and I wanted a case to fill a really big case. He made a custom case for my 149s, one only single pen. But yeah, I tend to wear pens in my pocket.
Same here.
Even the massive Namiki Emperor. There's not a pen I might have said this before. There's not a pen I've ever owned I wouldn't wear in my pocket. I've never had that kind of fear of, oh my God, what about if it breaks? And I don't mean to be flip about this. Maybe I will be flip, but if it breaks, say the do without it or buy another one. You know, I just don't. It's like if I had a really expensive sports car, which I do not, you know, I would drive it in almost all conditions. Yet there are people out there, and it's okay. God bless them if they feel that way, but only drive it on a beautiful sunny day. You know, I just see things differently. So I respect anybody who wants to drive it on only a sunny day. But for me, fountain pens are about use. And that's why I'm glad, you know, you guys talk about writing letters and stuff to people. That's a great thing to be able to do. And as we've talked about before, if we don't keep writing alive, why do we need fountain pens?
Why?
do we need
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Richard, what is it? Yeah. Richard, you had a question?
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah, but and you're 1,000% right. Yeah. If you're not going to write letters, why even waste your time buying pens?
well, I did a lot of that in the beginning. I don't have as much time as I used to, but where's that case? I put that case somewhere.
You know, you know, with my health issues and stuff, I still write. And like today, I must have wrote a 4-page letter.
I don't know if you'd see
There you
that.
go.
Hold on. Let me get this background. I got 2 Galen leather cases that I really, really like.
Okay,
And,
you need to try, Richard. I mean, Doc, you need to try the Yak.
Yes, it's a beautiful case. It has an inner compartment
Right,
that keeps
right.
the pen. This compartment actually pulls out.
right.
So it's a really nice pen case, an old like worn leather feel to it. So
Now,
Oh,
now
yeah, I
the
saw
Yak,
when you posted that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I have another one with more pens.
now I did a review and I did the Yak. It's like that, and you pull it out really nice.
Yeah,
So
I had
I'm going to have to get you hip to the Yak. Really, really, really nice pen cases that's going to take care of your pens, and they're affordable. I'll make you a believer, Doc.
For me, Larry, you know, my pen case, I keep them in those Italian wooden cases. I don't really take a lot of pens with me anywhere. And so, yeah, I know occasionally if I'm going to meet John Brooks for dinner, you know, I'll take, you know, 5 or 10 pens in a case, but I rarely do that. So rarely do that.
Did you have any more pens to show us, Richard, that you have?
Do what, Liz?
Oh, I was just asking Richard if he had any other pens ready to show.
I have some oversized pens.
Show them.
Here's a Schaefer white dot flat top oversized. And as
What
comparison,
year? Okay, hold on right there. What year did that come out?
1930s. And it has a whopper of a nib.
Oh, nice.
Comparing that to this other one here is a Schaefer nib on a smaller pen. You see the different sizes of the 2 pens here.
Oh, yeah.
This oversized pen, I can write for a couple of weeks my letters, and I carry around a pen in my pocket every day. I don't leave home without it, so to speak.
That's really nice. That's a lever fill?
It is a lever filler, yes.
Okay.
I know I can't find it yet. I have to look for it. I have a Waterman 52. And let me tell you, that Waterman 52 is a vintage flex, beautiful, gorgeous, great writer, a nice spring to it. It does flex. It does everything it's supposed to do. It's just a utterly great fountain pen.
Yes, I have several of those. in different styles. This 0552 Waterman, if you took a Waterman 52 that you have, probably just a plain black chased hard rubber pen, and then that pen would be like a Chevrolet with no accessories. And then this 0552 Waterman is the same pen, but think of it as the Cadillac model. It's the same basic pen, but it has a lot of accessories on it.
Okay.
So Waterman changed their number on the pens based upon what was in the pen, what the nibs were, what what was on the outside, whether it was gold filled or just black chased hard rubber or BCHR. And, you know, other little additions. That's how you can tell their numbering system.
Well, that's really cool history.
Parker pens, you can tell by Parker used to date their pens by putting having dots and numbers, and you can go online and get the whole listing of what the dots mean, and they have even broken it down to quarters of the year that particular pen was made.
Where do they put that information on their pens?
It in the early 15th or early 20s, I believe, and it continued on, I think, until the 50s.
And is that listed on the barrel of the pen, or
yes, it's listed on the barrel. I don't seem to have one out here.
Okay.
But it's listed on the barrel at the end. You know, the little paragraph that says Parker Pen Company, made in my mind is blank. I think it was in Janesville and USA, and then out beside that there would be those little series of dots and a number.
Okay. Well, that's good something good to look for.
Real quick before we go, Richard, what was your first vintage pen you bought?
It was a Parker Vacuumatic from, I think, 1943.
Okay.
And they all write beautifully. I use a different one almost every day. I take them outside. They go with me everywhere I go, because these pens were originally made as tools for people to use, and by golly, I use them.
Good.
Is there a certain ink that you can only use in the vintage pens, or an ink that you stay away from?
I stay away from Bay State Blue simply because
Oh, I
since
love
I
it.
care,
Understandable.
Doc, I don't put them in all my pens. Okay. No. So I love Bay State Blue, but only in certain pens, Doc. No.
well, I don't use it because I carry my pens in my pocket, and I just know that one day my pen will burp, and then I have Bay State Blue all over my pocket, and
Yeah.
probably all over my chest as well. So I just stay away from permanent inks.
I understand.
Well, before we go, I want to talk to Mike while he's here a little bit. To Mike, tomorrow we're going to be on here at 6:30, and we'll fill you in when you get here. Lots going to be happening tomorrow. I hope you didn't forget, Mike. Take 2 tranquilizers and go to bed there. So anyway, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, Mike. I promise. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'll show up.
Oh, well, thank you, Mike. Thank you. Cheers. Get a bottle of wine. You'll be fine. No. Anyway, as long as you can make pens. So I do want to say this again quick, and I'm not just saying it just to say it, but, when I met Mike, and Mike at the time was only making pens for 6 months. So I really wasn't expecting a whole lot. But now he's been into it 7 months. Now, right now it's 8 months. Okay, yeah, first 7, now 8. But when he sent me some pens to review, that was just a deal breaker. I was really impressed. You think Mike has been making pens for some time now. The polish that he puts on these pens, I mean, that's number one that grabs your eye. A really high, beautiful polish, and I don't see that on all the pen makers. On this one, he did a great job. And the nibs that he's using right now, smooth, wet nibs. And we're going to be talking more about that tomorrow, but he's a newcomer. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do in a year. Okay. So when I die, Mike, I want you to put some pins in my grave.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
What time is that tomorrow?
6:30 Central Time.
6:30? Okay.
Yeah. So Doc, and then I want to get with you later because I want to talk about calligraphy, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the only one. No, if I did it, you would laugh at me and I'd butcher it.
No.
So, yes,
By
you
the
would.
way, I posted some images again in the chat section. I've got some Parker ads from 1896 or 92 or something like that. So, and it was Janesville. But yeah, because the penmanship journals that I would look at for the type of calligraphy I did, they go back to the, to the sort of late 1800s forward. And so some of the earliest fountain pen ads can be found in there.
Okay, and another thing I want to say while we're on here, I've been planning and thinking for months now. One of my goals, and I'm really serious on this because, I love fountain pens. They're part of my chemistry. I believe in fountain pens, and I believe that people that buy fountain pens, use fountain pens, I don't care if they're 99 cents or whatever, they're meant to use and meant to write. And this keeps the fountain pens alive. So what I've been thinking about doing, and I haven't got with Tony yet, I've gotten with Doc. No, I haven't got with Doc, but I want to create like a group or a panel, because I want to try to have once a month, once every 2 months, children, teens, people in that age bracket that do not know anything about fountain pens, so we can educate them on fountain pens. And if the parents want to be with them, they're more than welcome, but this is my goal. And because this brings that new generation up to par to keep the fountain pens alive. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. And maybe, Doc, you might know better than this. I heard rumors at one time that fountain pens sales were on the decline. Not many people were really using them. And then I heard from this other dealer that that wasn't true. They're very popular and they're not in a decline. What is your opinion, Doc?
No, I think it also depends on the maker you're talking about. Right now, the explosion, in my opinion, seems to be with makers like Leonardo. They're not necessarily one-off makers, but they make some fabulous pens. Custom builders, like the ones here. I mean, that's sort of what's keeping it alive. And I hope there's been a resurgence. For me, it's all about handwriting. I love fountain pens. I love pens, but it's about handwriting, and because somebody once put an ad out with this cursive script, it said, pretty soon this is going to be basically coded language for young people that they can't read it. It's very sad to think about a young person couldn't read a love letter from grandma to grandpa. It's just,
Right.
If I may just interject quickly before I'm waiting for Tony to come on. Hey, Paisan, I got something I want to show you.
How you doing, Joe?
You know what this is?
It looks like I can't really tell. It's something plastic. It's a package of some sort.
Yeah, I was going to say it's fresh in from Italy. It's not celluloid. It's basically a 2.5 pound wedge of Reggiano Parmesan, aged 48 months, 48-month age. This stuff is incredible.
If there's anything that I know Joe and I have in common that more than the pens is mangiare.
You got it.
Well, Tony, back to you. I have on order right now my second Visconti. How do you pronounce it?
Medici.
Medici, yeah, that's a beautiful pen.
Yeah, I got one about 2 years ago, but I didn't bit the bullet on this one. And then I got in layaway a beautiful, gorgeous to die for Visconti sterling silver.
Oh, wow.
Now that's going to take me about 10 years to get it, but that's all right.
One thing that
go ahead.
Go ahead, Tony.
I didn't know they made one in a sterling silver, Larry.
Yeah. But I'll show you when I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this something that's advertised on a site, or is it something you just
I'm buying mine from Dr. McCarty.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
And it's a heavier pen. And for Doc, he uses an extra fine nib. This is a medium nib and not as heavy. And I do. And he was going to give me the pen now and just pay for it. I said, no. What if I die? No, just wait till I pay for it. Yeah. So,
one thing, just adding to what Joe said, I was writing letters to my niece, like birthday cards and little notes and stuff. And she lives in California and I'm in Washington. And I asked her one day when she went to college, I said, did you get my letter? She said, yeah. I said, I go, well, how come you didn't, send me back a text with the answer? She says, well, Auntie Liz, I'm really sorry, but my mom used to read your letters and your cards to me because I can't read what you wrote because it was in script. And I had no idea all those years that they weren't teaching that in school. I had no idea. And my great aunt was a writing teacher in New York City at an all-girls private school where she taught cursive. She has beautiful handwriting, and I just have saved all her letters just because they're from her, but also because of her handwriting. So I worked with my niece for a few months when she would come to visit to teach her cursive. So she's really good at it now, and she can read it. But I had no idea they stopped it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, it is a shame. I keep a journal, a legacy journal, where I use prompts and I fill out do a prompt like, what was your first job? What was your high school like? And I've kept all this as like a personal journal that I want to pass on to my kids so they'll know their father after I'm long gone better than they know me now. So I made my 17-year-old daughter read a page of that so I could make sure that she could read it, and she did. So some kids still do write cursive and understand it and can read it, but
yeah, that's really good.
They're not teaching much of it anymore, but I hope that changes for a lot of kids.
At one time there was a battle between the cursive people the print people, the italic people, the cursive italic. I could care less what you do. Just put pen to paper. You have a reason to own a pen. And, you know, I think it's really important that we do that.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
That's absolutely. I got to tell you something. I got Joe, that you'll appreciate this. I got the sax player in the band asked me, he said, I know you got that fancy handwriting. That's what they call it, fancy handwriting. And he says, I'd like to get a Bible quote that I've got. I want to have it done and I want to frame it and I want you to do it. So basically like a commission piece, which I'm not a professional calligrapher by any means.
Okay.
But I guess I get on the phone call. I got on the phone and called up Michael Sull, since we're here in the same town. And you know, he says, well, we'll get together, and he gave me told me the kind of paper, and he said I need to get a centering ruler. Now, if any of you have ever done any writing, I don't even know what a centering ruler is, but I can't seem to find one. So that's my goal, is to find one of those things. But you know, writing, it's funny how it affects people, just handwriting in general. You know, we write each other letters, Larry and I, but it does, I get so many people call me up and say, I still got your card from, you know, 2 years ago, and I've kept it just because of the handwriting, and I just love reading that.
Absolutely. I just posted a sample of my biblical quote, John 3:16. That was done with dip pens and an oblique pen holder back when I was doing lots of copper plate style script. That's the last image I posted to the chat section. And, you know, that's not handwriting. That's really drawing of letters. Even what you see me do, it looks like cursive. I try to tell people what I'm doing is drawing letters slowly. If you want to see people that can really do old school Palmer method, they're out there.
Well, that's beautiful, Joe.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah,
So
that's engrosser script.
Doc, what I've been doing, I watch a lot of your videos when you're, I guess you're doing calligraphy. I call it writing.
Yeah, it's calligraphy. No, it's calligraphy.
And so what I do, and it's really ugly, I try to do it very carefully, like Joe's making them letters. Oh, it's horrible. I get very frustrated because Joe does it just so easy. Just and I, for real, I'm like this. Look, I'm like this. What? Paper, pen. Real slow.
Yeah, but Larry, you know, part of it is that, and I'm the same way, Larry. When I first started with the pointed pen, with that dip pen, it was because I'm trying to write like a regular fountain pen, and you can't. It's a whole different. You have to have such a lighter touch, much lighter touch, and it's hard.
When I get one of your letters, I already know who it is.
Oh,
The magnificent Tony.
Oh no, it's not magnificent, but
I got a line on you.
I can't do copper plate or engrosser script. That's a goal, but I do work on my Spencerian, which is I enjoy that a lot because it's closer to cursive.
Spencerian is basically the first uniquely American form of handwriting, because before that it was what was called roundhand, English roundhand. And the first book on handwriting in the early United States was actually from an English writing master. It wasn't until the very early to mid 1800s that Platt Roger Spencer published his writing system, the Spencerian script. And most people do that now with an oblique pen holder, but back then it was a feather quill pen. For him, he preferred using feather quills. So, but that's a beautiful, that's Michael Sull's thing. He's the guy.
Yeah, that's his deal. That's his
brought
deal.
that back up, you know, took it from obscurity back to the forefront. So,
okay, well, we're fixing to wrap this up, but before we go, let's give it back to Richard. Richard, anything else you would like to elaborate about your pens?
Yes, this is my pen holder.
Is that a foot?
Yep.
It is a right foot.
Oh,
It
Wow.
is my pen rest.
Wow.
It
I
is
like
a real
it.
foot.
It's a real foot, huh? Real bone.
Real bone. My father was a podiatrist,
Wow.
and this would sit on his desk when he would explain to his patients how screwed up their foot was.
Looks like my feet.
Oh my.
it might have actually been an amputation he did. It's
Yeah.
possible.
I'm not going to
possible.
cut my feet. No, not to get my feet, but no. Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Wow.
Thank
All
you,
right,
thank
Doc, you
you.
need to have some kind of setup on your desk.
Oh, I used to have a human skull, but I lent it to a friend of mine in optometry school and never got it back.
Oh,
Oh,
my.
but you were hot. Yep.
Yeah, well, nah, it's
Hey, can I say something before we get off here, Joe?
Yeah, sure you can. Sure you can.
Yeah, I want to tell you, Joe, what a blessing you are to offer, and same with Larry. Larry does it as well on his giveaways. He'll give away pens. You're giving away pens, and I know Liz was the lucky recipient of this last one, and it's just wonderful that you do that, Joe. That's very kind and generous. Same to you,
thank you.
Larry. I know how much you like giving away and sharing the fountain pen. So
Well, well, yes, I thank you, Joe, so much. I do appreciate that. It was very honored to have received that. And it's on its way from Dan. But Dan is also sending something to Joe
Uh-oh.
from me.
I
And it's
saw that, Joe. I saw that.
It's a
Cool.
challenge. I have a challenge for Joe, and I'll explain that to him when he receives his package.
That I don't think he's giving that one
Thank
away.
you. It
Okay.
wasn't necessary. Wasn't necessary. Yeah, I always say my motto was pay it forward. You know, from an old movie with I forget who was in there, but it was I forget the young kid that was in the movie. But you know, I received an incredible amount of help when I first got into calligraphy, when I joined IAMPITH, and all these people gave freely of their time. And so I'm fortunate enough to be, I'm not a rich guy, but I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can pay some of this back. And that was, I think, my 21st fountain pen giveaway.
Wow.
I've given away oblique pen. I'm not trying to make myself sound, I mean, I do this for a reason, to inspire people to write and hopefully inspire them to pay it forward. So yeah, actually, the most expensive pen I've ever given in a giveaway was a Nakaya desk pen.
Wow.
And so, but most of the, I'm sorry, all of the pens I've ever sponsored giveaways for have all been at least 14 karat gold nibs. I don't use steel nibs in the pen, and it's not because of the way they write. It's this ego thing I have. If I'm going to write it with fountain pen, it's got to be a gold nib.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with how they write. And unlike who was it? Was it you, Richard, saying that you like a little bit of, you know, the flex? As a dip pen guy, I hate flexible nib fountain pens, with the exception maybe the Mont Blanc 149. I prefer rigid gold nibs like the Sailor. That's unless it's a flex nib, or a soft nib. I do not like, and I don't like glassy smooth nibs. This comes from my days of dip pens. They were never glassy smooth. I get very uncomfortable. I write with a buttery soft Mont Blanc medium nib. It doesn't do it for me. I like a little bit of fight back on the page.
Yeah.
There's some pens that have a little bit of positive feedback. Me, I like a smooth red pen. End of story.
Yeah. Everybody's different. That's what makes it unique. I agree. You know, you all know, I've said too many times, my favorite nib for writing, making my handwriting look the best is that 3776 platinum nib. It's a nail. Yeah. It's like a nail, but I'll tell you what, it does have the feedback, and I don't lose control of the pen. And I think that's what Joe's trying to say, you know,
I got to throw this in. People think, you know, I'm crazy, but that's okay. It's my thing. And on custom made pens, I tend, if I like the custom made pen that I'm buying, and I really have to really dig and love it, I will have that pen maker put me on a gold nib. So people say, why do you want to put a gold nib on that kind of pen? Because I want to, and I can.
Yeah, right.
And then there's another one like the Lummy All-Star. It's a beautiful pen, and I really like the color. I like everything about it. So I bought a gold nib for it. And again, people would say, you spent more for the nib than you did the pen. That doesn't make any sense. And I would say, well, you know, to you, it doesn't make any sense, and that's okay. But to me, it makes sense because it's what I like to use. You know, it's not what you like to use. You're not buying it. I am.
Larry, anyone outside of this hobby would ask the same question about any of the pens that we've bought. Why would you spend more than $10 on a pen when you can steal it from the bank? I get that all the time.
Yeah. And before we go, Joe, and I'm going to give it back to Richard. Joe, would you like to share that monster beautiful pen that I had seizures with when I saw it?
Oh, I think some of you have seen it. It's the Tassia Winter's Breath. It's the rounded one. Yeah, let me see if I can get an image of it.
Beautiful.
Man, oh, it just,
Beautiful pen. Yeah. Is
oh,
that isn't that oyster shell or some kind of what?
I
It's
think
oyster
that's
eggs.
quail egg shells.
Quail eggs. Quail eggs. That's what it
beautiful,
is.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm just posting the pen in the chat section. You just click on the last link.
Yeah.
Look, you guys can easily find out the price of these pens. The reason why I went after that one is because it's the cheapest I had seen it. I've seen it at $19.99, over $2,000, and then
Right.
Dan Smith had it for like $1,700. And listen, I don't spend money like that on pen often. My cutoff point was definitely 2,000. I've got to have I wouldn't even go that high. It's usually around $1,000, which is not cheap. But I'm not the kind of guy who would go out there and spend 10 grand on a pen. Even pens I like the Namiki Emperors that have all the embellishment on them, those can be like $10,000, $15,000. I have my own limits to my psychosis. And you know, I'll do something like that occasionally. And I don't hold on to these pens long. I just had a bunch of stuff I sold to Sarge Minhouse, and I don't mind getting less money for the pen because I know they're going to a good home, and I'm not selling them because I need the money. But no, that's an absolute, I can't wait to get it. And the reason why I also love that pen, some of you may know, my favorite nib in the world is a Sailor nib, and Sailor is making the Tassia nibs. And so I got that with an EF. My favorite pen point is the 14 or preferably 21 karat gold Sailor EF nib. That's one of the reasons why I let Mike Masayama work on my pen points, because he was trained by Sailor. Mike understands the geometry of that tip. So if I say, Mike, make me an extra fine point, an extra fine on a Sailor is probably the equivalent of an extra fine Mont Blanc, which you really can't find.
Right.
You know, so, and every once in a while I'll use Tony, I've got platinums that are UEFs, ultra extra fine.
Right.
And the line is so thin, you can't even sometimes tell what color the ink is.
Yeah.
Well, right now, my financial situation, even though I have a lot of money, just a lot of money, I use food stamps. So there
There you go.
Yes, all right. So I'm not ashamed. I have a lot of money. Money is not a problem. Not a problem.
No.
So with that said, one last thing, and I promise, Richard, you can end it. Have you all seen Lena from Pen Boutique video? Skydiving, baby.
Yeah, she's something else. She's something else.
And then she's going to be climbing, her and her family, a mountain, not Mount Everest, but close to it. Wow.
That's amazing. And Mike, by the way, I just want to say, Mike, I saw your listings on Instagram. Thank you for liking my posts on Instagram, by the way, Mike.
Oh, yeah. I like them.
And your pens are just absolutely beautiful. I saw the spread, and hopefully that fair went well for you.
It went very well. We had a lot of fun.
Good.
Tomorrow we're going to be going over that, so everybody want to stay tuned because a lot of action is going to be happening. I'm going to fire it up.
Larry, question for you regarding tomorrow. Is that something just you and the person you're interviewing is going to be on, like we've done, or is it going to be? No.
Mike's going to be on, and it's going to be open, and we're going to be talking about the sale, and we're going to be talking about my pens and creations, and I want you there. No buts, what's about it.
And what about with Leonardo when Sal Matrone comes on? Is that going to be close?
Leonardo, I don't have my calendar.
Sunday. That's Sunday.
Sunday.
Is that open, or is that just going to be?
That's open. Yeah. That's at 4 p.m. on Sunday the 5th.
Which will be 5 o'clock for you, Joe, because you're Eastern. And
it would be interesting to have both him and his father on. Ciro.
Is his father going to be on there? Did you ask him?
I don't think so. I'm not even sure if they're in the same part of Italy, but Ciro's the one from Delta.
Right.
Yeah.
And then put on your calendars Monday the 6th. I'm going to be on so everybody can bring me Christmas pins. There you go. Yay! Yay! Okay, Richard, enough of all this. Back to you, my friend. Anything you'd like to say before we leave?
I just appreciate you, Larry, and the whole group, because I have learned so much about modern pens that I may even start looking for more. I do have some Parker 51s,
Yeah.
some Parker 45s. You know, I may branch out in another direction, you know.
You never know.
Sometime.
Well,
We appreciate.
Go ahead, Liz.
Oh, no, we appreciate what you had shown us today, Richard. It was
Absolutely.
really great.
Very
And
nice.
because
Very good.
I didn't realize that you didn't have any modern pens, I'm going to send you one in a couple of weeks.
How about
Send me
that?
one. Liz, I don't have any modern pens.
Oh, yes, you do, Larry.
I have a pretty nice one I'm going to send over to Richard, and that's paying it forward.
I have Jinhao
God bless you.
159s. I'm going to send you one, Doc, a brand new Jinhao 159, and you better keep it.
No, it's
Larry,
going to
when
be
you gonna do
nicer
that?
than that.
When are you going to do that review on the Schiller? I want to see your thoughts on that. Have you used the pen yet?
I already did it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah. How you liking it so far, Larry?
Huh?
How do you like it
I'm
so
not
far?
liking it. Haven't put it down yet. It's still ink was ink.
Nice pen. I came this close to buying that pen, but I thought it might be too short.
No, well, it is a short pen. I don't post it, but it works fine. But I'm telling you, you'll love it. I mean, it's gonna knock your eyeballs out. It's that good of a pen. Oh,
Oh,
Richard, if you
Joe.
want to see a modern pen, this is small, but because Richard, if you're a vintage guy, you may not mind this. This is one of the Mont Blanc Lobo M's. And this pen has a retractable, it's very small. It has a retractable nib. So if you look at this and you see the nib come out,
Like
Oh,
a safety pen.
Oh.
Looks like a safety pen, isn't it?
right, and it fills at the back here. There's actually a hinge. So you lift the thing up and I don't know if you can see this. Oh,
look at
sorry.
that.
Stupid thing.
There
see
you
the way
go.
it cocks up? And the cartridge goes in there.
Wow.
Down. And if you watch the top of the nib, sorry, I'm a little disoriented here, but if you watch this thing go down, you screw the cap on. The way it's actually meant to be used is the cap screws onto the back. And
So
as
it
you
becomes a
screw it
full-size
on,
pen.
exactly. So it's a
I
full-size
love
pen.
it. Oh,
Hey,
It's
Joe,
a
I was
Lobo
looking
M.
to buy one of those as well because they're affordable. They're kind of affordable in the $400 range,
Yes.
$500 range.
This is
You can
actually
get
the
those.
first model of it. This got some unique, and I didn't buy it for that reason. I just buy
Yeah.
things that I like them. But Richard, if you want to know anything about it, just reach out to me. It's something you might like as a vintage guy, not because it's vintage, but because it has characteristics
Oh,
of, there are these eyedropper pens where you screw the nib would go all the way in, you drop the ink in, you screw it out. This is a lot more
And,
dependable.
well, I just happen to have a Moore's self-filling
Oh, yeah.
pen that does the exact same thing as that Mont Blanc does. I just use an eyedropper and I just pour the ink down the barrel, and I just screw the whole bottom of the barrel, and the nib comes up, and I write. I can turn the pen upside down, and as long as the nib is sticking out, no ink comes out of it. And Moore's made this pen, I think, sometime in the 20s or 30s.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
It's a wonderful mechanism that I wish the newer makers would make it to save nibs.
Is it hard to clean, Richard?
No,
Really? How about that one, Joe? That Bohème, is that hard to clean? Because obviously you take that, how do you flush that nib?
You can take a plunger that's, one of the
Oh.
blue ones, the tip, there's the ways to do it. But
Yeah,
Mont Blanc also makes the 1912 and the 1914.
Right,
I think
like
either
this?
one of those.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think the 1914 is the one that's really expensive. It's a retractable nib.
Right.
John Spagnuolo has it as well, and very expensive pen. The
Yeah.
Mont Blanc emblem on the Definio is actually
big.
mother of pearl, I think. Yeah.
It's big. It's a big pen too. It's one more rare. Yeah.
Which
Beautiful.
All right, folks, timed up.
Yes, sir.
And Mike, I want to say this before I go. Mike, I really appreciate all you're doing. Mike, you're very talented, really. I mean, I am just overwhelmed of your workmanship. The work you put in your pens, it shows, you know, the love you have and the passion you have. And if people would give you a chance and buy a pen, they're going to say, hey, this guy puts out some awesome fountain pens, you know? So I'll see you tomorrow, my friend. So folks,
Okay.
thank you for joining me today. Richard, thank you for taking time. Daka, thank you.
Thank you,
Remember,
Richard.
Richard, where in Georgia are you, Richard? I'm sorry. Where in Georgia?
In LaGrange, I'm only about maybe 2.5 hours from you in Augusta.
Okay. Keep in touch. We might get some pen meets in the state with John Brooks and a few other people. Sorry, Larry. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, froze up.
That's all right. Y'all can ignore me. That's okay. Tony does that all the time. So, all right. All right, my friends. Take care. Liz, thank you for showing it. Hey, Franco,
Been
spaghetti.
good seeing you all.
Bye.
Take care, guys. All
Thank
right,
you,
I'm gonna
Richard.
go here.
Goodbye.